Hi guys, it's Gibson. Welcome to We Should Talk, a new series from In the Know where I will be interviewing celebrities and reality stars and influencers, as well as sharing my thoughts on big cultural moments and sharing stories from my 5 years of living in New York City and working in entertainment news. I've interviewed hundreds of celebrities over the years, but I've never had a place for everyone to watch and listen and hear stories from behind the scenes of them in one place every week. And so that's what this will be. I've never had my own show, so I'm going to get used to like this talking to myself thing at the beginning of the episodes, but we'll get there. And if there are things that you want to hear my thoughts on, if there are people that you want to see come on the show, let me know and I'll try to make it happen. But we're going to kick it off with a really, really amazing interview with Emma Chamberlain, who is one of the most in-demand and sought-after creators out there because Emma does something which is apparently really revolutionary, which is just be herself. And that's exactly why she broke onto the scene in the first place. She saw all these influencers and YouTubers and just creators out there that were pretending to live the perfect lives and pretending that they had the perfect morning routine and pretending that they always were Instagram ready for photos. And she was like, that is not my reality as a teenage girl. And that is not the reality that I know that a lot of people experience in life. So I'm going to share my story. I'm going to share my reality with people and just be myself. And since then, she's totally blown up. She is one of the fashion industry's it people right now. She recently turned her coffee obsession into a full-blown business, Chamberlain Coffee, which recently did a big relaunch. And she just has her hand in so many different buckets and is so sure of where she wants to bring her career. And it was just really refreshing to hear just her perspective on being famous. But we're going to kick it off with something that I think we should talk about, which is something that will come as no surprise to people that follow me on Twitter and Instagram, that of course it is Bravo connected. I am a full-blown Bravo-holic. I'm obsessed with all things Real Housewives and Bravo. And 2020 has been kind of a doozy for Bravo fans because there have been a lot of people that have exited these shows. It kind of started in the back half of 2019 when Bethany Frankel left Real Housewives of New York. But since then, we've also lost so many different people. I'm going to try to go through those names right now. If I forget somebody, forgive me because it's a long list. But we also lost Dorinda and Tinsley from New York. We lost Lisa Vanderpump and Teddy from Beverly Hills. And Denise as well. We lost Hannah from Below Deck Med. We lost Kate Chastain from Below Deck. We lost Nene Leakes and Eva from Atlanta. We lost Chelsea and Naomi and Cameron from Southern Charm, and Stassi and Kristen and Max and Brett from Vanderpump Rules. Leanne from Dallas. Who else? Danielle Staub left New Jersey. I don't think she was really on the show, but we'll give that to her. Vicky and Tamara left Orange County. So it's been a lot of people. And obviously the immediate reaction to one of your favorite people leaving a show, or just anybody leaving one of these shows, is, okay, what does that show look like without them? And I think a lot of times we think it's going to be worse. A lot of times it's like, oh my God, what's New York without Bethany? What's Atlanta without Nene? And that's honestly only natural. I do that same thing. But I think that there is room for there to be a more positive reaction to people leaving these shows, in that it leaves open a space for somebody new to come on. It leaves open the space for a new person to be introduced to us, who is green, who has never been filmed before, who has never faced the criticism of what they've done on camera. So they're going to do whatever they want. And I think that's exciting. I mean, we saw that with Leah on New York last season. She was a totally new character. She came on with a bang and she made a huge impression and we all fell in love with her. And I think that there's just room to embrace that feeling over the mourning of, quote unquote, mourning of somebody leaving the show. As Bravo fans, we're really hung up on the past sometimes. We're obsessed with how it used to be. We're obsessed with the early seasons of Housewives, and rightfully so, right? I mean, those were iconic seasons of television. They've really permeated the culture over the past decade. And I think that there is this idea that it can go back to the way it was, but it never is going to go back to the way it was. There's Instagram now. There's glam squads on every show. And there's just such a heightened sense of self-awareness that will never go away at this point, because everyone is just so much more aware of how they look on camera, of what their image is. And there's the social media aspect of it all that didn't really exist as much back when these shows started. So there's not going to be any going back to that, but by embracing the idea that we're going to get new personalities when people leave, we're going to get little hints of that by having people that are very green come on and be unvarnished and not really know how they're going to come off on camera. that's great. Like I wanted people to embrace that even more. And so, with New York having 3 vacancies, it could be a totally new show going forward. We'll obviously have our favorites in Sonia and Luann and Leah and whatever, but there'll also be room for newbies, and I think we'll feel fresher again. And I think there's just room to like embrace that idea a little bit more among the Bravo universe. So before we cut to my interview with Emma, I'm also going to share one of my first ever celebrity sightings in life. This is part of the Celebs in the Wild series that we'll do on here. And when I first moved to New York, I realized that I was passing a lot of celebrities on the street and seeing them in restaurants, and just like realizing that they're all around, and you just have to you just have to look up and not look at your phone all the time. So I started writing them down. I started writing down every celebrity that I saw and where I saw them, because I wanted to keep track. I wanted to remember these moments. And the first time I ever spotted a celebrity was in middle school. And I was in New York in the holidays with my mom, and we met up with one of my best friends and her mom, and we had this like chic day in New York where we went shopping and had lunch at Bubby's and Tribeca. And we were kind of in this table in the middle of the room, and we noticed there was sort of like this this energy of like there's somebody famous around. Like we saw some whispers happening, and we realized that there was a famous couple in the booth across the way, and it was Scarlett Johansson and Josh Hartnett, who I had to remind myself right now even dated in the first place, but they dated for 2 full years back in 2005, and this is when this happened. And so obviously, being annoying middle schoolers, we had to document it, of course, but we didn't have iPhones. I had like a Razor phone, I think, at the time, so the picture would have been crap. But of course, I had my trusty digital camera that I brought to every middle school dance. And we did that classic thing where like somebody poses and then you zoom in over their shoulder to actually take a picture of what you want to take a picture of, which in this case was Scarlett Johansson and Josh Hartnett. So we were about to take the picture and we took it, but right as we were taking it, Scarlett leans in and just gives us a little knowing wave, because she knew exactly what we were up to. We were being so conspicuous and so obvious, and we were mortified. But I think that it's little moments like that that really planted the seed for my love of celebrity, of my love of pop culture, of my love for New York, and how all these different things intertwine and kind of brought me to where I am today. So I'll share little stories like that every week. I know that you guys are tired of hearing me talk this time though. So without further ado, let's go to my interview with Emma Chamberlain, one of my favorite YouTubers and creators out there. Emma Chamberlain, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We before this call, we're having a coffee chat technically, but we're both sort of at this level with our coffees. That's like where it's the water, or it's like coffee water basically. So
yes,
I think we both aren't prepared enough. So we're in it together.
Right, but I like that we're doing this. It's like nice to feel that with you. I like it. I think this is going to be a great talk because of that.
It's a kinship right off the bat.
Yes.
So, I mean, first of all, before this, I'm going to introduce you, and how do you like to be introduced? Like, what's the precursor to Emma Chamberlain when somebody introduces you somewhere? How do you like to be described in terms of what you do?
It's so funny you say that, because I struggle with it every time, and my team will come to me and be like, "What are you?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's so many different things. I mean, I honestly just say I say Emma Chamberlain and a bunch of other stuff. I don't even know where to start. So that's a great question.
Like, is creator too vague for you, or is because you're not like tied to one app or anything? You know what I mean?
Right. I think creator's perfect.
Okay. All right. Emma Chamberlain, creator. So we're obviously connecting today because of Chamberlain Coffee.
Yes.
And I'd love for you to just kind of like talk me through the brand, talk me through what the offerings are, and sort of, I know there's a new line of roasts, and what do those bring to the table that weren't already there?
Yes. So we just relaunched the whole company, and I mean, the coffee itself, right, that's not going to change a lot. It didn't change a lot, but the whole aesthetic and the whole like brand itself has changed so much. And I think we wanted the brand to be more like, have its own personality in a sense, and have like a voice that it didn't have before. So that's definitely a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
As for the blends, we have 4 new blends. each one that has a little character that correlates with it, so that you can kind of like, have fun with figuring out which one matches you best. Because I know it's really hard when you're trying to find a good blend for you and you're ordering online and you're like, okay, well, I don't know, like what's good for me? Like what do I even want? And I think
Totally.
this will help people figure out what fits best with them. So that's that. 4 new blends. And then we also have our original blend, which is the family blend. And we just couldn't get rid of it. I mean, that thing, like, I love it. I love it too much. I was like, we need to keep this forever.
For sure.
And yeah, I mean, like new packaging. We also used to just have steeped bags, and now we're doing, big bags, ground, whole bean, whatever. We also have a few fun little merch items like mugs and travel mug and
So
tote
fun.
bag, all of that, so that people can rep it if they feel like it. And I'm somebody who likes to, like, when I buy a product, I like to buy the experience. And I think that with this relaunch, we've really made an effort to make the experience, so much better, whether that's with the packaging or with like the box that, we store the steep bags in, like things like that. And also just even the accessories, because there's something so fun about like having the full set, and like it just feels good to use. And I think that was our big priority, but also having options so that everybody can find their own thing within it.
Well, I think that's great, because I think that we'd all like to say that, we will choose something based on like solely what it tastes like or solely what the actual product is, but no, like how it looks and how it makes you feel, and is it going to catch your eye, like that is so important. And clearly
Totally.
you've learned that just in this first year of the company.
Totally. And I think that in the beginning we didn't I didn't think about, the importance of that to me as a customer, right? Like I'm a customer of a lot of things. I love shopping in every way, shape, or form. So like, I started to realize, oh wait, I want to have more fun with this, and I want to like really turn this into something that I would enjoy going on the website. Like it's those things that keep you coming back. And I feel like I had so many ideas that I was just like not putting into fruition, and like now seeing it real, it's just like the coolest thing ever, and it's just been amazing.
I thought I was the queen of coffee, but clearly you are the queen of coffee. And so I think that obviously Chamberlain Coffee Room is totally in line with what fans expect from you. But I would love to just hear in your words about like, why did you start it? Why did you start the company? Because it prides itself on no pesticides and no bullshit. And I love that. And if I'm curious if you saw the offerings out there and you didn't see something that you loved, or if you were just sort of like, I love coffee so much that I just want to make my own. Like talk to me about sort of what the genesis was for it.
Totally. I mean, I think I've always been a huge coffee drinker since I was way too young. I have so many amazing memories associated with coffee, like going to cafes with my dad, stuff like that. And so it's a very intimate thing for me. But I think that, and so it started where I wanted to start the company just because I wanted to be a part of that, because I loved it so much. And I was like, I want to make some, like, I want to be a part of this. And so that's where it started. But then as we've grown the company, it became more than that for me. And it was more like, where is there a gap in this coffee world that I can like fill? Like what, I've always felt like that. I felt like that with YouTube as well. And so I wanted to create a coffee brand that was a little bit more inviting and a little bit more honest and a little bit more colorful and more fun, right? Because I feel like a lot of times coffee tends to be it kind of is more serious and like artsy, but like in like a poetic way, and it's very polished and like clean, and like, and it's like complicated, and they like that, right?
And it does take itself seriously too. It does.
Oh, it does. And I was like, you know what, where's the coffee brand that like doesn't care, like that just wants, that is straight to the point, good coffee, no covering up any kind of weird BS, like just good coffee that's fair trade, organic, no pesticides, whatever, like that you can trust. I wanted to be the coffee brand that, kids who are like, well, not kids, but like, young adults that are, becoming an adult and they're starting to get into coffee. Like I want them to feel like they can come to Chamberlain Coffee and they know that they can get an honest experience where they know what they're getting themselves into, where you know, all the information is easy to understand and comforting, and it's cute and like blah, blah, blah. And I want that experience for, you know, my generation, but also
Mm-hmm.
anybody who loves coffee and just like wants to experience a little bit more of a fun approach to it.
Totally. Yeah, I think that makes total sense, especially if you just think about what else is out there.
Totally.
And okay, so if I were to tell you, name your ideal cup of coffee and ideal celebrity that you've never met that you want to have that cup of coffee with.
So definitely iced latte with almond milk, quad
Love.
shot, so 4 shots of espresso. And then if they have like, if they have a homemade syrup of some sort, like maybe a little vanilla syrup, only I don't like getting it unless it's, this is going to sound so gross of me, but like I am not a huge fan of flavors in coffee unless it's homemade. So if I'm at a cafe and they have a homemade vanilla syrup, I will
We're
dabble in it.
down.
Okay. And then as for the celebrity, I like to answer this question differently every time. Anytime I get a
Okay.
question, like if you could meet anyone, blah, blah. So
Right,
I'm
right.
a person. Let's say, you know, this is so obvious, but I've always felt so comforted and safe anytime I see Paul McCartney speaking.
Mm.
I just feel like
I
he's
feel
such,
that.
he feels like a grandpa to me, and he doesn't know that, but he is my grandpa up here. And so I would love that. But another one actually I just thought of would be Van Gogh, because I know that he's a little bit, I know he was a little troubled, but I would like to sit at a table with a cup of coffee and cry with him.
That would be the most cathartic, I think, experience that you could probably have.
I mean, I would be able, I don't know how I would live a day after that. I feel like that would be something that would be so, like, I would be like, how do
That's
I
peak.
look at life? I could never look at life the same way again.
Totally.
I feel like it would open my mind, and I think we'd open each other's minds. So definitely him.
A meeting of the minds in all forms. I love
Yeah.
that. So, I mean, you obviously have a lot to be proud of in terms of Chamberlain Coffee, and you're relaunching your own brand. But you also have a lot to be proud of just in general in terms of like what you've been able to experience and accomplish in the past, what, three or 4 years. What do you when you kind of think back to these past couple of years, what's the most kind of surreal moment for you? What was the moment where you were like holy, like I'm here, you know what I mean?
Yes. It's so funny because I don't think I had that for the first few years. I mean, really, I was like, it just kind of all happened so fast, and it was all
Right.
so like mind boggling. But at the same time, when you do everything online, it's like you still feel very removed from it, because
Insular,
it's like,
right.
because you're, you know, you're working from home, and it's like you're working from home, and it's like you don't really get to see, it's not like being a musician where you perform and you see everyone in
For
front of you.
sure.
I would say the first moment where it blew my mind was going to Fashion Week, for sure. The first time when I went to Paris with Louis Vuitton, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on,
Right.
whoa. I like sat back for a second, and I was like, wait, this is insane. Like, this is truly the coolest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And to this day, it's still like a mind-boggling thing for me. And like, it was just like something I never thought would ever happen to me. And so I think that it kind of shocked me in a way. Like, it was something that was so like out of the ordinary, and something that I didn't like expect at all. And when it happened, it just like blew my mind. And so that was it. It kind of registered, and I was like, wow, this is a little bit different than I thought. Got it. Noted.
And also because, like you said, it's like the first couple of years of your career in YouTube and social media was very much like you were in your own world and you just creating what you created. And
Totally.
then all of a sudden you're thrown into like this crazy, I mean, like the Fashion Week in Paris is like, the paparazzi are insane. Like there's just like stars
Right.
everywhere. And that's such a leap, you know. It
was
yeah.
mind blowing. And I mean, I was so terrified, but I was like, but it definitely was a little slap in the face that I needed to show me like where, you know, it was like I needed that almost, because
For sure.
it's like you don't realize until you realize, and then you're like, whoa. So yeah.
And I feel like, to me, like that experience in and of itself was showed you that you were being accepted into this world, the fashion industry, that like historically, you know, hasn't had the best track record with being accepting or sort of
Right.
like, or welcoming people with open arms right away. I mean, but you were welcomed with open arms. And does that feel like, did you feel that part of it? Like, did you, because that is pretty special and like pretty rare.
Well, totally. I mean, it was so interesting for me being somebody who started, YouTube, where I've just been so, not like, I've just been so opposite of polished, right? And I feel like the fashion industry is so polished, and it was so, that's why I think it was so shocking to me that they even wanted me there, because I was like, y'all, are you sure? Because did you see me burp in my video yesterday? Like, you blinked or something? Like, it was so funny to me. But I also was so excited. It made me even more excited to like be someone who is like, you know what? I am me. I'm not polished.
Mm-hmm.
I am like, I will wear week old sweatpants for a month. And like, that didn't make sense, but you know what I'm saying? I'll wear sweatpants for a little bit
Yes.
too long. And like, that's me. And they were okay with that. And they were okay with accepting me and inviting me as me. And, it was scary, but it was like so cool to see that they were down with that. And like, but it also was so inspiring to me too, because it kind of, I've always been into clothes. Similar with coffee. It's coffee and clothes for me have always been a big thing. But I think it really like blossomed my love for clothes, and like just trying to like learn more about it and just become more and more into fashion as, the time goes on, and I get a stronger relationship with these brands. And it's just been like, it's been so cool. So, I mean, I love that they saw that in me, and I appreciate it a lot.
I mean, it's like they're down for you to burp in the Louis Vuitton. You know what I mean? It's like
No,
they're
and I'm
down
like,
for both.
I mean, mad love to Louis Vuitton for just like being like, you know what, even though she burps, we still love her and we still want her to wear our clothes. And like, that really like makes my
That
heart
hits
feel
home.
yes, it hits home.
And another recent fun thing you got to do was the CFDA Awards red carpet from home.
Yes.
What was that experience like? Because I as just somebody who's consuming a lot of this stuff and watching it from my phone screen, it's like, I'm like, oh, I'm curious just like how they're setting up these like at home things and how they're like, talk to you about how just that process. Cause the photos were amazing, first of all, in the off-white
Thank
outfit,
you.
but that must've been like an interesting experience to do that in quarantine.
Totally. Well, funny enough, listen, I like going to events. I do sometimes, but I also am somebody that does like to be in the comfort of my own home. And I do like to feel, I prefer it sometimes. And even though it is kind of a bummer that, I can't wear these outfits out and like be in it and like do the whole thing, there's also the positive part, which is that like I get to be home with my cats and be shooting with like, my hair and makeup team that are like close to me, and we just all like have fun. And it was like, it's a lot more of an intimate experience for me. And it was like, it was really nice. And I mean, it's obviously so bizarre to me that like we can do photo shoots over FaceTime now. I mean, it was so funny. It was like, we were like, we would set up the camera and like I would just be posing into my own phone, and it was like so bizarre. But it was also like, it's a unique experience, and it was so fun. And I mean, seriously, such an honor to wear off-white and like, do that whole thing. It was just like so cool. And I remember my first designer item was actually an off-white keychain. And
you got to start small, you got
totally, exactly. And so it was like, it was, in my budget, and I was like, this is awesome, I'm gonna get this. And so that was like, it was a really cool full circle moment. Yeah, I loved it.
So I mean, you mentioned earlier when you were talking about the coffee brand, how you saw a hole in the market and that you wanted to fill, and you said that was the same for YouTube.
Yes.
And I'm curious, like, what does that mean? What did that mean for you? What was that hole you saw?
Totally. It's so interesting because both with coffee and with YouTube, I started it with no goal in mind. And then after like a little bit of like trial and error, I was like, oh wait, okay. Like I know what my goal is now. Like it took me a second for it to click. And with YouTube, it was really that, I felt like there was a lack of honesty from the other girls my age on the internet. And I mean, I'm not saying that like, there wasn't anybody, but the people that I grew up watching and the people that I was watching, I felt like everybody was trying to create this false narrative of their life. And it was such a trend at the time that I started to make it look like you have the perfect morning routine and the perfect makeup routine and that your skin always looks good. And like, and it made me feel really bad growing up and watching that. And like, you know, it made me feel so alone and so not normal in a sense. But I realized, like, you know what, that's what people need to see. People need to see the truth, and they need to see like what being a teen girl is really like. People want to see that because then they can relate and they feel safe and comfortable. And so I was like, I'm going to be what I wish I had when I was younger, and like something that would make me feel good and feel not alone, you know, and feel like I had a friend in the screen. Like I wanted that, and not like I don't know. It just didn't feel like there was enough intimacy on the internet, and I wanted that. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to be me, and whatever that is, whether it's cute or not, I will be that. And hopefully people like it. And somehow it worked.
I mean, I'm thinking even about the recent Paris Hilton documentary where she kind of talks about how she like did create this persona, just like to kind of like create this distance between who she was and what she puts out there. And like for you, like there isn't that much distance because like you said, you're giving fans this intimate portrayal of your life and just an honest portrayal. Were there parts of your life that you were like, it took you longer to be comfortable sharing, or were there like, or were you just kind of like, you know what, I'm jumping all in and I'm just going to be open and be myself?
It's definitely hard because even if you have a goal, like I'm just going to be myself, there's something really intimidating about being in front of a camera, and it's really hard. It's truly practice. And, you know, now I feel like I have it figured out to a certain extent, but it was like, it took a lot of time to figure out how to talk to the camera like they are a human being. Because I'm talking to myself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
No one else around. It's a little bit weird. So like, you know, I definitely had to learn how to, you know, make that comfortable for me. But it was just practice. And I think even now I'm becoming more and more myself on camera every day. And it's like every time I film a video, I'm more me than the last time. And so it's like, I don't think I'll ever fully, I mean, I think in general, who knows if I'll ever even fully be myself, who I am in my own mind.
It's so intertwined too. It's like, it's like a mind, right?
It is. And it's confusing because it's like, okay, well, what is me? Am I who I am on camera? Am I who I am when I'm by myself? Or am I who I am when I'm around the people I love? I don't know. Like it's in all, you know, it's very, very overwhelming to try to comprehend. But I do think that I do my absolute best. I mean, I turn on the camera and I zone out. I don't even know what I say.
Right.
I turn the camera on and off. I have no idea what happens in between.
Put it out there. Don't rewatch it. It's out there, whatever.
Exactly. So like, I don't know. I mean, but it feels good. It feels good to know that, like, you know, when people meet me in real life, like they're meeting the same person. You know what I mean? It's the exact same. And I'm proud of that.
And what do people say to you when you run into them in person? Like, cause you have such loyal, adoring fans, obviously, but like, what do they want to tell you? Or what do they want to ask you?
It's so funny because I think a lot of the times, you know, I get this a lot where they'll be like, I literally feel like I know you already. So like, this isn't that weird. And I was like,
right.
Totally. And it's true. And it feels that way on mine too. It's like, yeah, I agree. Like you guys know just as much about me as like the next guy. Like it's very, like, you know, like as my family even, like, you know, sometimes my fans may even know more than like my distant relatives. Because they're
keeping up with your day to day. Exactly.
Yes. So they actually are like my family in a sense, you know what I mean? Because they know so much about me, and they're like my best friends too, because they know so much about me. And so it's just very cool how instantly we always click. And I love that. And it's just fun to like, you know, have a little moment with them and, you know, just like bond over the fact that we kind of already know each other. You know?
And you're probably having similar life experiences in terms of just like being a teenage girl. And that's what you set out to accomplish in a sense. So that's awesome.
Totally.
And I'm curious also just cause like we talked about how you've been accepted by the fashion world and you have all these different amazing projects going on, but I feel like for a little while there, not for you, but like in general, there was I feel like there was sort of like the stigma of like a certain cohort of like, Hollywood or the film industry or the fashion industry, like not really taking like people who started their careers on social media like totally seriously, or like, or thinking that like their ascent wasn't as legitimate as somebody who took like a traditional route. And I'm curious, like, one, how often have you felt that in your career? And two, do you think that stigma is like finally going away? Because it it should be.
It's so interesting because when I first started, YouTube was very, I mean, there's no TikTok when I started YouTube, you know what I mean? It
Mm-hmm.
was like, and obviously people were famous on Instagram or would get, it was like, but it was very interesting and it was very, very different. And there was not a lot of overlap. It was very clearly like, the music, acting, of it all,
Mm-hmm.
that was a very separate world, and they had their own separate parties and they had their own separate life and like all of that. And I mean, it is still like that to a certain extent, 1,000%, but I am noticing like more of an overlap just recently, of it all slowly but surely melding into one. And
Yeah.
I think it was a combination of like, you know, kids are not, sorry, my cat is just
I see a cat going into the screen. I love
literally,
it.
he is crazy. But it's a combination of, I think, like the reach that social media influencers, if you will, are gaining is like hard to even comprehend. You know what I mean? You look at people blowing up on TikTok, it's like the craziest numbers. And it's like, what do? You can't ignore that. Same thing with
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. I mean, like YouTubers, like it's like kids are watching social media more than they are movies.
Right.
In like, it's like kids are on TikTok, kids are on YouTube, and like that's the TV. And even that was it for me too. I watched YouTube growing up. That was what, like, those were the movie stars for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it's so interesting to see like how it's kind of starting to combine. And I do think that in 10 years, like it will all be one.
For
You know what I mean?
sure. And I honestly feel like the people that didn't want to take somebody like you seriously in the industry, they're just gonna be late to the game. Honestly, it's on them. And like
Thank
that's
you.
like no, but seriously, it's like you just, like you said, it's the power of a YouTuber or TikTok. Like if you're not gonna embrace that, then like what are you really doing?
I mean, totally. It's the time. These are the
Mm-hmm.
times. This is what's, you know, this is like a whole new thing. Yes. But it's like, I mean, it's a kind of a industry disruptor almost. Cause like the way that
Yeah.
it came in and it just like changed the course of everything in this industry, you know? And it's like crazy. And I think everybody's like trying to figure out, okay, well, what does this mean? You know, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I'm so glad to be a part of it, although it is kind of scary and overwhelming, but I'm very, very grateful to be a part of it. And it's kind of like free reign. It's like the Wild West. Do you know what I mean? It's
Totally.
like
That
what's
means
going
I
on.
think it's exciting. I think like the best creation comes out of moments like this probably. And so it's
Totally.
like, okay, in 5 years, like I'm just excited to see what I mean, the whole landscape looks like,
What's
you
next?
know? Yeah, seriously. So I mean, as we wind it down, I'm curious, just sort of like, okay, you have all these things going on and I'm sure you have things in the works. Do you have a 5-year plan about like what you want to be doing in 5 years? Like, do you like, how much do you plan ahead just in terms of your own career and brand? Because you always
Totally.
have your hand in different pots, but
Right. I mean, this is actually interesting because I think about this a lot. And it's funny because like I in this industry that I'm in, it is so new and it is so uncharted. Like with a lot of different things like this, you can kind of predict what could happen next based on who did it before. But
right.
there's never really been this is the whole social media thing right now is at a different scale that we've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
What could happen, I have no idea. And so for me, my priority is, you know, it's day by day and just like adapting. Like I just want to adapt as long
Mm-hmm.
as I can and continue to adapt. When it comes to like the social media element, YouTube, whatever, podcast, Instagram, all of that stuff, that's all you just have to adapt. You cannot
Yes.
predict. There's no way to know. I'll do it for as long as I can and as long as it makes sense. But, that's kind of something that I just don't even know. When it comes to Chamberlain Coffee, I mean, I'm just excited to put my love into it and just like
Yeah.
really like turn it into the best coffee company that it can be. Like it's a small
Totally.
child. I just want to raise it and nurture it and do all that for as long as possible. And I think I have such a passion for coffee that I want to continue to like grow it for as long as I can and like make it as amazing as it can be. And, you know, my dream one day would be to have a physical location, and that
have
is
a Chamberlain
that's
coffee
all in the
shop.
works. My goal in life is to like retire one day and work in my Chamberlain coffee shop and just be a barista. And that's like, I would love that. So like that's like my 40-year plan. But
and I could see you very much excelling at that. Cause again, like you have the if you can have a conversation with a screen, like you're gonna, being a barista is just about, you know, making coffee while you have a conversation with somebody. Hello.
Amen. That's my dream. So like, we will see.
I love it. Last thing, I would love to use a quick rapid fire with you just about some of the people that you have crossed paths with in the past couple of years. First impression, whatever you want to say about that experience.
Great.
We'll start off with a big one, Anna Wintour.
Super intimidating, but also such an iconic moment in my life.
Yes. Like
that's like, I just was like, oh my God, like this is iconic. It was so mind boggling. I was like, why am I breathing the same air as this woman right now?
Right.
That shouldn't be allowed. I fart on the internet. Why am I in a room with Anna Wintour? I like was like, this is so funny. So that was definitely a mind boggling experience.
Carly Kloss.
Oh my God. With Carly, it was just such an instant bond, like an instant sisterhood. And she was just so, it was such like, I was so new to the whole thing. And like, I feel like she just took me under her wing and made me feel so welcome in everything. And she's just an angel and I love her so much. And she just made me feel so like safe and comfortable in the fashion world and all that. Yeah.
Derek Blasberg.
Oh my God. I love that man. Derek has been there since day one with me in fashion. And like, I just feel like he's a brother to me in like a way that like is deeper than even like, you know, us working together. Like I just love him. And I know that like, he will always give me fashion advice. He will always tell me if an outfit is ugly. And that is why we have more Dereks in this world. And he's just like the life of the party. Like every time I see Derek in a room, I'm like, done. Like this is about to be a fun evening. So I love Derek with my whole heart.
Love that. Okay. Well, Emma, I mean, I've had so much fun talking to you. I feel like we could go on for hours, but that's all the time. But where can people get Chamberlain Coffee? Where should they be following? Tell me about so everyone listening can hear.
Number one, chamberlaincoffee.com. I almost said my merch website. It's been a long day. Chamberlaincoffee.com. There's 5 blends. Go crazy. Find the one that makes sense for you. On Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. That's Emma Chamberlain, just my name. And then, God, I think that's it.
I mean, they'll cross paths with you on one of those apps at some point. So it's
I hope that I show up on your For You page today. That's my goal.
I think they're listening. So it's like, I don't know who they are, but somebody's listening.
Yes.
And they're going to put you there.
Putting minimal effort into a dance on your For You page today. That is my goal. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. And I look forward to drinking more Chamberlain coffee.
Yay, thank you.
For more stories from In the Know, go to intheknow.com. You can also follow In the Know on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and find me, Gibson Johns, on Instagram and Twitter at Gibsonoma. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.